Alright, I'm excited to be recording this video. I think it's a fun concept and I love going through games. So the video is going to be about the best match and the best matches of Triad Wars 14, and I'd like you to help me decide. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to skim over every game for my favorite matches of the tournament. I'm going to try to go quick, but we're going to look at kind of key moments from 25 different games. Hopefully it'll be really interesting and fun. A requirement to be one of the best matches. I think a match has to go at least 3 games. I think it has to be played at a very high level. That means the winner of these matches obviously played well, but the losers have to play well too, or it would not be a great match. It likely wouldn't go 3 games. I'm going to say what I liked about a match, what I found worthy, then we're going to look at the games, and afterwards I'd really love it if people would send me a private message ideally so it can be like a surprise which one wins. What you think the best match of Triad Wars 14 was. Feel free to vote for more than one. You can give them ordered. I'll figure out stuff. I don't think I'll get that many votes, but you know, it'll be fun. And I'd like to have this as a kind of memory of the tournament, as something was selected as the best match of the tournament. Like how in chess there are brilliancy prizes for tournaments, or at least used to be. Some games I'll be able to show graphics from the actual game. Others I don't have that, so I'll have to use my uglier graphics. Please give the lesser graphics games a chance. I picked one match from each round. This was not by design. It just happened that I really liked one match from each round. But I kind of think that'll make this a really cool video encapsulating the whole tournament, because you'll see a little bit of each rule set on the way. So I think that did not happen because I intended it, but it's really cool it worked out that way. So the 5 matches. In round 1, I thought Celdur played just brilliantly to eventually defeat Midas. In round 2, we had Delta Bowl. This was almost certain to be a pick, and I think it fully earned its spot. In round 3, I've already had video about this specifically, but Turdz puts on just an absolute clinic against Piggyman. In the semifinals, Akiyama just has such good vision for where combo potential is, plays really tremendously to beat Seto. And I think had to include the finals. Long match, good match. I will say in advance, I hope it doesn't win. I don't think it was the best match of the tournament. I think I played well. I think Akiyama played well. But I think Akiyama had a round. He played much better in the semifinals. And I don't think it was the best of either of us. And so, yeah, I think it fully deserves to be in the top 5. Maybe isn't 5th, but I'll say here, I hope the one with me in it does not actually win. So I'm going to pay extra attention to Celdur vs. Midas, because that's the only one that hasn't gotten coverage elsewhere. Also, of course, like, you can vote for something that I don't think is the pick, obviously. And so I'm going to pay extra attention to stuff I hadn't covered prior. And let's get to the first. I'm just going to go through chronological order. What makes Celdur Midas so great? First of all, I just love matches that tell me how a rule set should be played. That says, here's what works, here's what doesn't work. Here's how to meet certain starter types. Here's how to start yourself. And I just thought this match was just this wonderful tutorial for the rule set. And for me, something that's really inspiring when I see a game is when it teaches me. I want to be getting better. And I thought this match was just so informative of what was doable and what wasn't on this kind of rule set. Just game after game, I thought Celdur found ways to attack what Midas was doing. Midas did some standard and compelling plans, as I said here. Midas did some offbeat stuff too. Both were quite clever from Midas, but I think Celdur just game after game was finding advantage, and it was reliably Midas who had to be more careful. On the other hand, this wouldn't be a great match if it had just been Celdur dismantling Midas game after game. The thing was, Midas kept holding these difficult positions. And fundamentally, if you look at tournament players, you give them, 2 tough positions, they're quite likely to fold. The reason the great players are great is partially because they don't fold as often, but partially it's because usually they get the advantage, right? They're not the one that has to be folding. But Midas survived a whole bunch of tough positions here, probably the most surviving of difficult spots in the tournament. Or at least certainly in contention for that. So I thought we had Celdur's just really good understanding throughout, and Midas's resilience led to the longest match in the tournament. And I really liked it. So game 1, just as an example, Midas starts with 6-1-1-1 and 8, and my instinct on the rule set was side starters. That gets a low level out of your hand. You can support it with something high. Celdur doesn't have a 7 down here, so you know you'll be able to build a wall if they go in 7 or 9. You can do that standard defensive side starter. But Celdur responded phenomenally. Notably, this rule, I should say a little about the rule set. There's no plus wall, so captures are more difficult than usual. And if you don't have the capture kind of innately, it's hard to have. But also, and I think importantly, you could only have 3 level 3s, and the others had to be a level 2 and a level 1. And that made it really difficult to directionally balance, because you could kind of have 3 big corners, but not more. And both of these players often opted for something like a 6-3-6-3, in which case you have 2 big corners, a big side to side, and no more. And so Celdur, when he plays 3-7-5-3 and 1, cannot recapture from 2. But Midas' 7-5-1-4 is now completely overworked, right? It is the card Midas has to use to recapture his card in 8, or at least wants to use. And it is his only threat in 4. And he has trouble taking 4 immediately, because Celdur could so happily play the free square in 7. And Midas then would have a capture in 5, but that capture A sets up a combo back in 2, because it has to be done with 4-1-5-7. And B, Celdur would also have 9. There would be big threats in 2 or 9. It is very hard for Midas to attack this immediately, and if he doesn't attack it, Celdur is threatening to go 4. Because while Midas has a nice square in 7, Celdur will have a nice square in 9 as well. So I just thought this was just such a lovely way to meet the hand, such a lovely way to make the 7-5-1-4 is now the only good card in Midas' hand. And I was worried about this starter type, and this just showed me such a good game plan against it. If we skip ahead to later in the game, a couple moves later, Midas is played in 9, Celdur goes in 7. In this position, there is only one saving move for Midas. Midas has to get the 4-1-7-1 out of his hand usefully, and the only way to do so and not lose is 4-1-7-1 in 4, which he does find, and he has pretty good control of the squares Midas would want to use after that. His 2-7-5-4 has a plus in 6 against 7-5-2-3 and 5, and has a plus in 2 against 6-3-6-3 and 5, and his 7-5-1-4 has a plus against 7-1-3-2 and 5. So because he has nice control of 5, he ends up holding the tie. But this was really scary, and I believe it's the only tie in the position. And really well saved by Midas, but also really well pressured by Celdur. I think Celdur could not have done more to pressure Midas' starter, and most players would have crumbled in Midas' position. So we move on to game 2. And Midas again starts, and Midas moves off the side starter. That didn't work. Okay, let's go with a weak corner. Another way to get the low-level card out of our hand. And Celdur, who you'll notice brought in some low-power cards. You know, 5-5-1-6 is a 3-directional card, but generally feels like kind of low power compared to the 7-5-4s. But he spots, you know, it's hard for hands to be balanced. Midas' hand only has a 5 going down, only a 6 to the right. This 5-5-1-6 finds a way to be safe, finds a way to exploit that directional weakness. And if we go a little later in the game, Midas plays in 6, Celdur plays in 3, and again, Midas has very few moves that tie. I believe the solver says 2, but Midas finds the better of them. One of the few moves that tie, and this one's not so hard to find because there's not very many candidate moves that look appealing, but he correctly finds one of the very few ties with 6-6-3-2 and 2, after which Celdur finds the only tie with 4-2-5-1 in 5. Not particularly difficult ties to find, but this is again to say, even if it's a fairly straightforward move, when you have so few paths to a tie, there's a chance to screw up, and you gotta be careful, and both players here were. Also, again, credit to Midas surviving. You know, he plays a weak corner, the opponent plays safety, he doesn't have a setup. You know, that's already going to be a tough spot, and he found a way to hold. So, again, Midas doing real impressive work surviving these games. Game 3. Midas' first turn again. He starts in 7, another weak corner. And Celdur shows that he has more tools in his kit. He's played an opposite corner. He's played against a side starter. He's played a far corner. You know, both games he played distant corners from the starter. Here, he just plays next to it, saying, you don't really have good cards for 8. You know, I set up against 7, 5, 1, 4. Your other cards, I kind of have nice ways to capture. You know, if you use 4, 1, 5, 7, then you have no threat in 5. It's difficult for you to play in 8. Now, this game was cool too, because Midas, who often doesn't defend passively, but kind of finds creative ideas, notices, you control some stuff I do in 8, but I can control some stuff you do in 8. My 4, 1, 5, 7 always has a good capture there. So Midas actually went to 9 here, inducing 8, so we'd have the double capture in 5, and ends up again holding a tie, and maybe was a little ahead in this one with a creative move in 9. So really neat move on the next turn here in 9 by Midas, just spotting the control of 8, because I think instinctively it would be really easy to go in 8 or 1, and I think those would be fine moves, especially 8, but 9 was an elegant way to do it. Oh, this is game 4. Yeah. So, I guess I didn't show the opening, but Midas started in 4, and Celdur went in 9 again. Big corners, noticing it's safe against your hand, I'm going to play it. And Midas went in 1, which was a nice move. But Celdur noticed you have used all your right power, and found this really odd way of playing in 3. Now, you'll notice 6 with the same card would have had, like, bigger outfacing, but you can't retake that from 3. So instead he went 3 with the point, if you go 2's taking it, your only way to take it, well, you'll only have 3's to the right. I can recapture with a 3 to the left. That'll be safe to your hand. I can, you know, build this wall on the right, and there wasn't a good way to do it starting in 6, but I could build this wall on the right starting in 3. And I thought that was this really neat idea. The game, I don't know if I have a picture, because it says more game 4, that should have been the first of game 4, and then there was another, which I guess I don't have. But Midas went in 2, and Celdur actually played a tie in 8, not in 6, nor in 7, both of which were very standard ideas, but found a nice tie in 8. So, just a match where not only was there a lot of kind of showing what the good conventional plans were, but finding these creative moves, like the previous game. Oh, I guess, sorry, this was the first picture, yeah, this is the second image of it. Okay, I did have that shot, I just skipped past it. But, you know, in this position, Midas plays 9. And in this position, you know, a move before this, Celdur plays 3. Both very unusual ideas, but quite clever here. And so, this match wasn't just, here is just perfect example of kind of how to do standard play well. There was a lot of really nice creative play here, too. In game 5, Celdur gets the first start of his on the set, and he goes for a side starter, 7, 1, 3, 2, and 8. And Midas's hand was not so well designed to hit at the weaknesses of it. Because Celdur, by having 2 backup cards, Celdur's now in red. Red is always the first turn player. By having 2 cards that are ready to recapture, Midas couldn't overwork it the same way Celdur did. Because when Celdur saw a side starter in 8, he would play in 1 or 3 and overwork the recapturing card. But because Celdur has these redundant cards, multiple cards with this up value, it's harder for Midas to do the same game plan. Midas goes in 5, Celdur goes in 2, Midas goes in 7, and this is the first time we sort of see one of the things about lacking plus wall is it can just be really hard to take things. And Celdur goes 6-3, 6-3, and 4, just saying, I'm going to have 2 cards locked in on the left, and you can't do anything about it. And once again, Midas had to find an only move to tie. This one, not super hard, but again, anytime it's an only move, that's pretty dangerous. So Celdur goes 6-3, 6-3, and 4, and Midas finds the only tie, 7-5, 1-4, in 1, making sure to flip 2, which can't be recaptured. And again, gets a tie. But Celdur made the side starter work better. Again, I think Celdur is really kind of showing how to do everything on this set in really impressive fashion. Then in game 6, Celdur had another first turn, and like Midas, moved off the side starter to try a corner, but unlike Midas, went for a much stronger corner, used the low level as a powerful corner with 1, 4, 4, 6, and 3, which was a card Celdur's hand couldn't take from 2, and if Midas took from 6, would have to use up a high power card to do so. If Midas had taken from 6 with 6, 6, 3, 2, then Celdur can take back from 9 and will have both 6 and 9 safe. If he did it with 6, 3, 6, 3, I think Celdur had a big setup with, for instance, maybe there's multiple ways to do it, but 3, 6, 4, 4, and 8 sets up 6, 3, 3, 6 to have both sides of it. So this really nice starter, finding a way to use a low level to apply significant pressure immediately. Midas sets up in 5, sets up as 1, 5, 7, 4 really well. It's good in both 2 and 6. And Celdur just takes safety blocking 6, and now Midas has to find a move. And I think 1, 5, 7, 4, and 2, the obvious move, is good enough. But I liked the way Midas tied this game, noting that in a world without plus wall, there's a lot more safeties. And he plays 6, 3, 6, 3, and 4, which is a pretty unusual square here, but quite a nice way to find safety and an elegant way to tie. The up-down cards they've been using really have been quite effective and are good at finding safety. Celdur's find safety in 6, and Midas's find safety in 4. And then finally, in Game 7, Celdur breaks through. This game, Midas... How did this game go? Midas, I believe, started with another side starter. What's the move word? Yes, Midas started with a side starter in 6. Celdur noticed, I have 7, 3, 4, 3. You are not using 6, 3, 6, 3 in your hand, and played 1, 6, 2, 2, and 4, an opposite side saying, I have 5 and you don't. Midas said, okay, I'm going to grab from 1, with the point that if you take back from 2, I have capture potential in 3 and combo potential in 5. Celdur instead said, okay, I'll take back from 7, lock in my card in 4, and if you capture, I will have combo potential. Your only capture is 4, 1, 5, 7, and 8, and then I have a crazy same of 1s in 9 if wanted, but I also have a plus in 5, and so you can't really risk that. Midas goes, okay, well I have safety in 9, I'm going to take that safety. And surprisingly to me, Celdur is actually winning here because it looks like everything done so far is really rational, both grabbing safety at all times, but Midas has run out of left power, and Celdur has some latent potential based on that. And there's only one square that wins, and it is the last square I would look. But Celdur finds the winning move with 1, 4, 6, 1, and 5. One of the other cards works in 5 as well, I don't remember which one, probably 4, 3, 3, 7. But he finds 1, 4, 6, 1, and 5 with the point that he sets up a threat in 8. So if Midas goes in 3 or goes in 2, Celdur goes in 8 with a combo with 4, 3, 3, 7, flips 6 as well, and wins. And if Midas does go in 8, Celdur has also set up for a double capture with 4, 3, 3, 7, and 2, recapturing 5 if need be, and flipping 1 and being safe to Midas's new left weakness. And so finds a really clever way to win. Awesome match. Just Celdur playing great, Midas continually defending. This game which Midas lost, this position to me does not, this does not have the feel of a losing position, and took a really tremendous find in 5 at the end to convert. Yeah, what a good match. Hope you enjoyed this one. And we'll move on to match 2. So this one's gotten more coverage, so I'll be a bit quicker on it. How long have I been going? Oh, I still have time. This one, a bit quicker. Oops. But what makes Seto Deli great? Delta Bowl. I feel like I shouldn't even have to say. Obviously, these are two tremendous and creative players. One thing that really was cool to me about this match was when watching it, my commentary was so frequently just behind what they were doing. I was regularly misunderstanding positions, and it's just, I'm obviously very good at Triple Triad, and so often my commentary is ahead of the game, or is showing things that are, at a level ahead of some players or not so far behind. But with Delial and Seto, it always felt like they kept finding ideas I had missed. and showing things that I hadn't caught. And that's always really cool to see. And my main conclusion coming out of it was, if I had been paired with either of them in round 2, I would have lost. Elemental also is very interesting for hand wars, because you don't actually have a great sense of who has the hand advantage, because you don't know how much of an advantage came from hands or early decisions or just where the elements happen to be. Was it a really good hand that lined up well, or did the elements give it some safety or some captures that it wouldn't normally have, and it looks better than it was? And so thinking about hands is always quite interesting with elemental in play. Also, of course, this match had lots of moves in surprising squares, because these are two players that find moves in irregular squares really frequently. And I also think, unlike something like the Celdur Midas match we just watched, where really it was Celdur pressing game after game and Midas surviving, and like that's really impressive to see and cool from both players. But this was one that was more back and forth, and that also, I think, makes for a great match. So in game 1, we have pretty graphics. Sorry about the YouTube overlays. They will be on all the pretty pictures because of the way I did this. But game 1 was really interesting, precise complications. Deli started in 6. Seto decided to capture from 9. Deli recaptured from 3, as was clearly the plan. Seto had interesting ideas in both 2 and 8. And I was expecting 8, but I think 8 was easier to hold. He ends up going for 2, and I thought Deli had a tie in 5, but Deli finds a much more elegant way to push with this move in 4, 2, 9, 8, 6, setting up Ifrit to have both 1 and 5, and Seto was forced to block 1 immediately and got out with a tie. But it was a game where I thought Seto was ahead until Deli made this move in 4, and then it was Seto who had to be just a little bit careful at the very end. I'm going to pause for a moment while I cough. Just trying to spare your poor ears here. But just a really nicely spotted game with good vision for combos. Seto finding nice pressure early, aiming for various Ls that all look dangerous. But Deli keeping them all under control and ending up finding a way to get a little something himself. Really interesting game. This was a fun one to watch. Game 2 was another really complicated mess. Seto started in 1. He did a really nice job of low-level starters applying pressure, and Deli ended up going in 9, creating his own kind of, couldn't find a good way to create dynamism around Seto's starter, so instead tried to create a challenge for Seto. Seto played in 2, and Deli did something I am really loath to do, but the standard moves in 3 or 6 or 4, it wasn't working. And he was running out of up power in a lot of key lines and just didn't have cards facing the right way. He needed cards facing upright for those lines, and 7-6-4-5 was the only card in his hand with good power in that direction. He had a real up issue with 2-9-8-6 and 1-7-8-9 still in his hand, and the 7-6-4-5 wasn't lining up quite right. Really difficult position. And he ends up making this move in 8. And so with cards in 1, 2, 8, and 9, I always find this really difficult to play on second turn, because first turn can have good moves in literally any square there. 4, 5, 6 can all be really dangerous, but so can 3 and 7. And it just gives so many options that it's hard to have checked them all. And you have to have just wonderful instincts to be able to pull off these moves. But Deli does. And Seto ended up, his best try was in 4, I think, which is what he did. And Deli plays 2, 9, 8, 6, and 5 here. A nice way of locking in every card he has on the board, and gets the tie. And nicely done too. And you'll notice Seto can't keep a card with high down power, because if he uses 8, 6, 2, 9 to keep 6, 2, 9, 8 as his sweeper, Deli actually wins with 1, 7, 8, 9, and 3. So Deli finds a move in 5 here to tie. But what a dangerous move type to play in 8, but I think as it turned out was a really good way to save the game. But Deli definitely in some trouble the first 2 games. And then game 3 comes, and it completely turns around. Seto starts in 5, Deli finds a really good move in 8, where Seto's, due to Ifrit's same in 4, Seto has no capture in 7. 2, 9, 8, 6 is covered by 9, 6, 2, 8. Seto has picked up the card he's going to play. So we can't quite see the line as it works. I did a bad job here, and I don't have the game. But just this really difficult position for Seto. Seto finds this move in 7, and Delial can suddenly grab 9. And because of the +1 and 4, Deli doesn't have a good way to play in... Seto doesn't have a good way to play in 6, because Deli has a double capture in 4. This just devastatingly dangerous position. If Seto goes in 4, Deli has safety in 6, locking in more cards. I thought Deli was just winning here. Deli, I think, saw a tying idea for Seto in 2, but that is very difficult to play here when you have, minimal down power in your hand. But Seto finds a move in 1 that just looked so much like a loss, but somehow pulled it off. Brilliant save here. I really thought Deli was going to win this one. The first game felt like Seto's a little better, but Deli balances it. Second game looked like Seto was starting to push. But third game completely spins around. I really thought Deli was going to win this, and Seto had to be super precise to save it. And then in the fourth game, Seto just finds another tremendous move. Starts with this really powerful starter in 7 that Deli's hand really can't beat. Just did not have remotely comfortable ways to meet. And Deli goes in 9, afterwards wishes he had gone in 1. But Seto finds this huge setup in 5, where suddenly Deli, because 6-4-5-7 has this threat in 6, Deli can't play anything in 8. 2986 is the only thing you could put there that won't get comboed, but if 2986 is out of his hand, he's dead. He needs downright power. That's the best card in his hand. So he just can't occupy 8. He can't occupy 6. He has no threat to do anything in 4. Absurdly difficult position. Seto played just an excellent starter. Till now, people had been kind of playing their low levels as starters to keep their high levels for later. But Seto uses the 9-7-8-1 so well in this game. Plays this really tremendous starter. And then when Deli plays a corner that gives Seto just a little combo potential, he jumps on and sets up all the combos. 7-6-4-5 is now a huge combo in 8 and ends up pulling out the win. So I thought this was a great match. I think Seto's save in Game 3 was spectacular. His idea in 5 here in Game 4 was phenomenal as well. Just fantastic play from Seto. Cannot remotely criticize anything he did in this match. And he beat a tremendous player in Delial. So we've concluded 2 matches, only 3 more to go. This one, luckily, I've talked about before, so we can be a little quicker. But if you're not bored of hearing about it yet, this is a match that I think, like Celdur Midas, really showed how to handle a rule set. I was inspired, and my win is largely based on how Turdz won this game. He also showed more variety in hand building than any other players we've seen so far, and any other players in this round. I think each game was really interesting, and for me, I don't know if this is my pick for favorite match, but it was the match that affected how I played my match by far the most, and gave me the most inspiration. In Game 1, Piggy started in 3 with what I thought should be a good starter, but Turdz found a great play in 1, setting him up to have 5. Specifically using the 7-5-3s meant he could create 2 gaps that opponents' hands would not have. So he sets up himself to have a gap of 2, 7-3-2-5 for 2, but does not give the same square to his opponent. Piggy smartly blocks 2, and Turdz sets up a really nice L formation, Turdz's favorite formation, and comfortably gets a tie here. In fact, it's Piggy that has to be careful. Piggy does find the tie really nicely with 6-3, 6-3, and 5, where Turdz can play 6, but then Piggy could recapture safely from 9 and sneak out a tie that way. Or Turdz can play in 7, which he did, in which case Pigs has only 1 tie in 6, which he found. But I thought a really nice job, and you can get more detail if you look at my video about this match, of facing a hand I thought was really good, and a starter with that hand I thought was good, and completely neutralizing it immediately. And that's always really nice to see, because you see these great saves later, but often that great save is because you couldn't find a first move that made the game clean. And Turdz just plays a clean first move, and it's smooth sailing from there. He's the only one with any winning chances after that, and he just has no losing chances. And that's exactly what I want to achieve in a game out of Triple Triad. So it struck me as just the perfect response, and I was using the same hand Piggy was using. So it struck me as, oh no, this is just the easiest counter to my hand. A hand Smokes came up with what to do. Then we move on to game 2, where against basically what everyone else had done to this point, and some other players ended up using 8-6-6s, but no one except Turdz and me when I copied him used these 8-8s or these 8-7 vertical horizontals, which were the most high power things allowed by the stips, but it feels low power because it's not a corner card, it doesn't have much plus wall potential, but he really made it work here. Piggy started in 7 with a weakish corner, Turdz replied in 5, Piggy played 2, and Turdz just took it from 1, saying, you can't go 5. And it feels like Piggy should be... Oh, sorry, you can't go 4. Piggy should be able to go 4. You know, 2 cards there are susceptible to combos in 8. But there's not even combos in 8. You know, it feels like Piggy should be able to go 4. But the problem is, Turdz plays 8 after, and he will control that whole middle row, most of which will be safe. He will have 7. And the 8-3-7-4 is just going to sweep the endgame up down. Because in a world where 8s are kind of nerfed and everyone has moved off 8s, so they're playing these 7-7 hands, suddenly 8s become really good again. And he found this wonderful way to use them. Piggy has only 1 tie here, and to both players' credit, they both found the tie. Which is, Piggy needs to create a threat on the right row. His inability to take those 7s is deadly, and he finds the really phenomenal move, 4-7, 4-2, and 6, the least likely square to look at, setting up a threat in 3, so that he has both blocks off some of that right row where the 8-3-7-4 is just going to eat him up, but also sets up a threat on the right row, which you would otherwise be lacking. Phenomenal move. I think Turdz pressured brilliantly here, and his use of 8-8s inspired my win, but also Piggy found a really excellent tie here. There was 1 tying move here, and it is just the last square you'd look. Game 3 saw the eventual clincher, but it was one of those games, kind of like the Midas game, where it didn't look like the losing player did anything wrong. Turdz started in 9, Piggy went in 1, creating, you know, a challenging corner for Turdz to handle. But Turdz found this really nice setup with 3-5-7-7 and 3, setting up 6-3-6-3 to have both 2 and 6. So Piggy blocked one of those squares, got rid of the combo potential, took a card, set up a kind of wall on the right, the card safe with 5-1-4-7 and 6. This seems like it should be pretty good for Piggy. But after 6-3-6-3 and 2, Turdz has everything beautifully figured out. It's 5-5, and he has threats in 8. He has pretty good sweepers for the endgame, and Piggy has nothing to do. Piggy's only capture in 5, 7-6-3-7, is comboed back in 4 with the same, 4-7-4-2, and his captures in 4 don't work either. 6-3-6-3 is not samed in 5, because Piggy could then combo back, but 6-3-6-3 and 4 is comboable by 7-7-6-3 in either 5 or 7, so there's going to be some combo there that works out well for him. And 7-6-3-7 and 4 is met by the excellent 7-7-6-3 and 7, pointing out that you have no captures, and the 4-7-4-2 will either take in 9 or has a plus in 5 to win 6-4. Really nicely played by Turdz here. Really perfectly calculated out. Again, I think this match was just wonderfully played by Turdz, and Piggy was under so much pressure every game while having done, like, nothing that looked wrong. You know, like, Piggy's play just looks like, oh, that's a good move, and suddenly he's under a lot of pressure, and that was really cool to see. Just wonderfully played by Turdz. Alright, we got 2 more matchups. Akiyama Seto. What made it so great? Well, it lacked P, which I think often makes games a little ugly. It means there's less combo potential. But what stood out here was every line I calculated watching the game, someone had wild combos at the end. This ended up being an incredibly high combo base set for these two players because they were so good at lining up their cards in ways that would prove relevant later. And I think that was just kind of magical and happened because these two players both have such wonderful intuitive feel for the combo rule. I've called Seto the master of the weak corner, but I think even more than that, he's the master of kind of playing moves that see distant combos. And what was so tremendous about Akiyama's performance is he kept being even better at it. And both on first turn or more impressively on second turn, because if you have similar cards, you know, the first turn player often has the last turn and can hold the card that pairs nicely with whatever card the second turn player holds with and is likely to have that combo potential at the end. But whether Akiyama was on first turn or second turn, he was getting the combos at the end, and that was remarkable. And also, Akiyama, I think, was basically worse for one move of the entire match, which is an insane performance to put up over 5 games against Seto. Just ridiculous performance from Akiyama. And also, there's some fantastic saves here, so really tremendous match. Let's get to the games. I'm supposed to be finishing up this video in 7 minutes, and I'm not going to. In game 1, Akiyama started in 3. Seto played in 9. He had this real affinity for 8, 5, 8, 4, and 9, which I don't quite understand, but I guess Squall plays well with it. And Akiyama found this move in 4, where actually just really difficult to play Seto's position. Akiyama did a great job of turning the game side to side. He had the 9-7-1A and the 9A-5-2 in his hand, and with his move in 4, he made sure those cards would sweep, right? Seto has up-down A9s, Akiyama has side-to-side A9s, and Akiyama's really, really smart move in 4 cleverly made the game side-to-side so his A9s would dominate. And yet Seto found a tremendous tie, playing 8-8-7-2-1, just sacking the card. Akiyama takes it, and Seto follows up with 6-4, 6-7, and 7, which just about ties. And you can check the position for yourself. 4-9-A-4 is going to land in 5, and it's just barely going to be enough. But it's so hard to just sack a card like that to play a move like 6-4, 6-7, and 7. I might have just said 9, I meant 7. To play a move like 6-4, 6-7, and 7, which looks so weak on its own. Just a tremendous calculation to save this game. Akiyama against like any other player, and I fully include myself in this, just should have won this game. And Seto saves it. And then taunts him in the chat after. Game 2, this one I got to watch, so we have prettier graphics. Seto starts in 9. Akiyama goes, I can never take from 8? Okay, I'll just take from 6, force you to recapture and get rid of those squares. Seto recaptures from 6, Akiyama takes from 6, Seto recaptures in 8, and Akiyama just takes from 7, and all the combos line up. It's all going his way. Seto's only capture is 2-8-8-4 in 4, but Akiyama now has a plus in 5 that he clearly had set up from earlier. Seto has some... Oh, no, sorry. Sorry, I'm getting the hands confused. Seto has the 3-4-9-9 and the 6-7-8-4. If Seto plays the 3-4-9-9 in... Oh, I grabbed this position with a card picked up. Akiyama should have another card in his hand. He ended up putting it down. I don't remember what it was. But Akiyama just has the combo setups here. You know, 6, 7, 8, 4, and 4 is a combo, but Akiyama can combo back in 1 with Squall. And just every move here, Akiyama was just so well lined up to meet. You know, 3, 4, 9, 9, and 4. Akiyama had 2, 8, 8, 4, and 5, same in that. Even without plus on, Akiyama had so much control. Seto ends up playing A9, 4, 4, and 3, and ends up getting a tie here. But it just seemed like Seto did this wholly reasonable thing. He played a starter that was hard for Akiyama to deal with, that would hopefully make Squall a dead card because it doesn't face the action. And instead, all of Akiyama's cards kept having combo potential, He forces 8-4-3-7 to go to 8, and he can use that for that random same if 3-4-9-9 ever lands in 4. It was all just so nicely designed and done at such a high speed. Really impressive stuff. And this is not to say Seto played badly, it was to say Seto played, I thought, really good moves, and Akiyama got pressure anyway. And again, that's kind of the sign of just really great play. So that was game 2. Now game 3, Seto starts with 8-5, 8-4, and 9. Again, Seto was really disposed to playing this as soon as he could in most of the games. And Akiyama does this thing, which I guess Akiyama does a lot, but I feel like I've occasionally seen from other players, where he goes in 5 when it really sets him up in one square. Now, it sets him up in both squares, like Shuyin is set up in 6. But Akiyama could have played 8-4-3-7 in 5, which sets up 6-7-8-4 to have a same in 6, and 3-4-9-9 to have a same in 8. And instead, and also that would have gotten a card out of his hand, the 8-4-3-7, that faces away from the action and is redundant with 9-2-8-9. He has 2 cards for that corner. Instead, he uses a card that you'd think would have the most important power in his hand, facing the action, to set up combo stuff that isn't even quite as good. You know, 9-2-8-9 is comboable back, right? It's a little dangerous. But something I've noticed in these Akiyama games is he's willing to play a 5 response to a corner that really just sets up one square. I don't think he cares that much about setting up 6. He just knows he has set up 8 really, really well. And if you block 8, he has a plan. And this combination has proved really effective in his games, where he plays a 5 starter, and like traditionally I think of a 5 reply to a starter as having to control both sides. And he often does it just hitting 1, but he sees if you block there, he has good play against that card, the cards you block with. And here he has this A9-4-4 that controls a lot of stuff, and 8-4-3-7 controls Squall, and he just sees, I'm going to have safety if you ever block 8, so I don't need to have 6. And here he does have 6, but he really doesn't need it. And this has been a really interesting move type that is not really in my lexicon of moves. Seto does block 8. Akiyama could have gone 7. Instead he goes 6, which was even better. And Seto finds, I think, like the only comfortable way to save it in 7. Akiyama goes in 3, which is the highest pressure move. And just to show that this set really did end up having a lot of combo potential, even without plus, Seto's only save is the fun move 4-9-8-4 and 1, which he does play, setting up sames in both 2 and 4. So I thought that was a nice finish. On game 4, we had the first and only point I thought Akiyama was in danger. Akiyama starts in 9, and Seto takes it really smartly from 8. Really good move. With the point that Akiyama does not have a good recapture in 7, 9-7-1-8 combos, but it is comboed back by either 5-4-8-7 or 3-9-9-8. And if Akiyama puts anything else there, Seto has the option to capture it or to go in 6. Specifically maybe with 8-4-2-9, which sets up 3-9-9-8 beautifully in either 3 or 5. Just seemed a really powerful position for Seto. And if Akiyama goes 1-9-8-7 and 6, Seto, he's used his down power, and Seto can just go in 7 and have safety in both 7 and 8, and Akiyama has no power facing the game. So that seemed really favorable for Seto. I thought, this is the turning point in the match. Seto has been behind, but he has brilliantly saved every game. He's now ahead. He's going to win this one. But no, Akiyama just plays 1-9-8-7 and 6, says fine, you take your safety in 7, I'll take safety in 3 with 9-7-1-A, and it's actually ended up being a pretty comfortable tie. And it was the one moment where I really thought things were going to turn around, and he just dashed those beliefs instantly with an excellent move in 6. And then we hit game 5, which I don't have the video of, but Seto again started with 8-5-8-4 and 9, and Akiyama just took it with 6-4-6-7, and suddenly Seto doesn't have a good recapture. 9-9-5-3 proved an incredible card here. So 4-9-8-4, if it captures an 8, is comboed back. Again, Akiyama, phenomenal feel for combos. 8, 7, 2. If it goes in 8, is samed in 5. We don't even need plus. He has all the sames. Really difficult position. If Squall goes in 3, the combo doesn't flip extra cards and it just can be taken from 2. Difficult position, and Seto ended up going in 8, not capturing it back, and Akiyama quickly played out, I think, Squall in 3 to win it. But just tremendous vision to attack the starter so quickly and see that even though there are multiple recaptures, Seto's hand does not want to be going right, and Akiyama has picked cards that line up so well here. And the 9953 really played well in a world where kind of Squall and Cypher and 4984 type cards were popular picks, because it hits those 4s so well. And also it hits Squall from below, right? It's 9-5, hits the 6 below on Squall. So just controlled a lot of the conventional cards really well. Really nice choice. And deservedly won in the match here, but I think he was ahead the whole match. Really well played match by Akiyama. Can't criticize anything he did at all. Just fantastically played. And I was hoping this would be about when I'd end the video. We do have one more match. It is the finals. I did not enjoy playing it for what that's worth, but it was very tense. I think it was back and forth. Akiyama played incredibly fast and very, very well. I think it was back and forth. In one of the early games, I think he was winning. In one of the later games, I missed a win. I think the changes in hands were really key. There were probably more mistakes in this match than other ones, but I also think, obviously, we are two very strong players playing high-pressure moves, and it is difficult to not make mistakes against players of that caliber, and also with Elemental on, difficult set to play well. Let's get to the games. Game 1. Akiyama, incredibly, misreads the rule set, plays an extra level 4. He brings 7-2-4-6, 3-6-7-2, and 3-6-3-6. You only had to use 2 level 4s. He brings 3 level 4s, and yet still gets huge pressure on me. I start in 1 with 3-6-7-2, and he notices he can play 3-6-7-2 and 2, and I'm going to have a really tough time taking that from 3 with the Elemental there. And if I take it immediately with something like 2-7-4-6 and 3, he combos everything back from 4. So I blocked 4 with 6-8-6-3, and he just plays 3-6-3-6 and 7, and suddenly I was having trouble finding things. He has this big plus and 5 anytime he wants it. I thought I had to block 5, but if I use 2-7-4-6, I give up all threatened 3. I didn't know what to put there. Also, 8-6-4-7 in 8 might seem appealing because it gets the +1, but it is always controlled by 7-2-4-6 and 9, which plays really well against that 6 to the right. Eventually, I find 4-5-7-7 in 5 and do hold the tie blocking 5, but it was shockingly uncomfortable. And again, he used a weaker hand than he had to, and his reply to my starter was still so good that he had the advantage. Very impressive. Glad I didn't notice at the time, or I would have felt like, man, I am getting clowned. Game 2, I bring a 7-7-7-4. This will come up again later, but this proved really a useful find that this was a good card. You'll notice my cards look really redundant. Their ideas were a bit different. You can look at my videos on hand making if you want more detail on what I was going for here. But I started in 9, and he played in 4, using the 6-3-6-8, noting I can never play in 1 or 7 safely. He has those squares covered. But he does use up some of his right power, and there was this element in 8, so my card in 9 was safe if I blocked 6. So I blocked 6. And he went 1, and we have that same position we saw earlier, the same structure type from Delial Seto, where I thought Delial took a big risk playing this on second turn, but he had the right instincts and it worked. And here I think the same thing. I end up going 8, setting up my 7-7-7-4 to have a plus in 5 and a plus wall in 7, but it doesn't quite prove enough to win. Akiyama plays 2-7-6-3 and 2, and it's not quite enough. He held this nicely, and had good instincts to play the move in 1. I thought this was a tough position for him, and he held it quite well. Turdz said this was his favorite game of the match, because every move that was made, he thought the advantage switched. After I started in 9, he thought, that's a good starter. After he played 4, he thought, oh, now Now, Wazzup's position is difficult. After I played 6, which incidentally was what he would have played too. He wanted me to play that. He thought, yeah, that looks pretty strong. Akiyama's in trouble. And then Akiyama plays 1, and suddenly nothing's quite working for me in 5 or 2. So I go 8, and suddenly it looks really good for me. But then Akiyama goes 2, and suddenly it fizzles out to nothing. So, again, really well played here by Akiyama. And I got a little pressure, but it wasn't much. Game 3 was my disaster game. I think he picked a just lovely hand here. He picked 2-7-6-3 and 6-7-4-2. I had at this point decided 7-6 corners were clearly by far the best thing on level 4 to use, and he picked 2 that combined really well together. The 6-7-4-2 naturally recaptures 2-7-6-3, but also if the 6-7-4-2 lands in 7, it's really hard to take 7-6 corners on the set. You couldn't have 8-8s, you could only have 1-8-7. They're just difficult to take, and a lot of stuff that would take it, bomb 2-7-6-3, that would take it from 4, bomb can capture back really well from 1. I thought they were a good combo. He also managed to have elements on every card in his hand except Gafgarian. It's the perfect combination of 7-6s, a good 8-7. The 8-7 plays well with bomb as well, giving him a plus wall on the other side, and these really strong 8-6-6s. I thought it was the perfect hand. He starts in 1. I couldn't find anything. I take from 4. I think he should have recaptured from 2. We both, at the time, I think, thought he should play Gafgarian in 7. I said, I think he should play Gafgarian in 7. I hope he doesn't. And then he played Gafgarian in 7. So we clearly both thought Gafgarian in 7 was best. In retrospect, I think after he plays 1 and I go 4, he should have recaptured the Gigas in 2, which looks bad because I can play 6-3, 6-8, and 3, and due to the +1 from the ice element, I lock in both 2 and 3. But I think he goes 6-7-4-2 and 7 at the end, and I think I'm losing there. Not sure. I understand why he didn't go for it, and I also was hoping he would go for that at the time. Again, I'm not sure. My solver doesn't work with elemental, so I have to do it with my brain, and my brain is nowhere as good as a computer. So I think that was a win for him, but I can't be sure. He goes 7, which, again, I thought was the scariest move, and I really panicked here, and eventually found 4-8-7-6 and 2. And the key is, if the top area fills up, my 8-6-3-6 will always have a capture in 1 of 8 or 9, and no matter which card he has left for his last turn in his hand, I can play in the 1 of 8 or 9 that he cannot take back, and that gets me a tie at the end. And to get that, I needed to play 4-8-7-6 and 2, because I had to be able to recapture it in 5 with something that wasn't 8-6-3-6. So I needed to still have 7-4-6-2 to recapture, and it was all a complicated thing for me to figure out. But I do sneak out a tie here. But oh my god, his hand terrified me, and his play was very forceful, and I had no idea how to meet bomb in 1. So I built a counter hand, and my counter hand had 4-7-6-1 and 6-1-4-7, which meant if he did any of these 7-6 corners, like bomb in 1, I could play 4-7-6-1 and 5 and set up 6-1-4-7 to have the same in both 2 and 4. So I made sure that would cover. I also had a big problem just taking 6s and taking 7s, and there weren't that many 8s to take, so I decided to start running 7-7-7s and hope it would work. I think these are cards that are bad in a world of 8-8s, they're bad in a world of 8-7-6-4s, but if my opponent can't run 8-8s and can only run 1-8-7-6-4, I thought they might be good, and I'm very glad that they did turn out well. My opponent started in 7, and I noticed he doesn't really have recaptures, so I took from 4. If he plays 4-6-8-7 and 8 to recapture, I have the same in 5. And if he does what he did, play 6-3-6-8 to recapture, I have a big plus in 5 with 4-6-8-7. But he had figured this out nicely, and he realized this is a dangerous position, that he can allow the combo, and then play 4-6-8-7 and 9 at the end, and gets away with a tie. So I got some pressure here. I was really happy with the hand, and I think after I took his starter, he had a really difficult position, but he really aptly realized I can walk into the combo and still hold. And I think some players kind of see that they walk into a combo and stop calculating. But for him, he sees he walks into a combo, everything's flipped, but suddenly there's lots of cards that are weak on the board, and so it's easy to keep calculating further because you still have lots of things you can attack. And he correctly found a way to do so and held a tie here. So did not fear the combo at all and really understood the position nicely. Game 5, I started in 3, again using this new hand I had made. He plays in 5, again this kind of newfangled move that sets him up really nicely for 2 with a plus and 2, not as nicely for 6. However, I notice I can go in 6, and if he goes in 2, I can take back safely in 1, and that's a really tough spot for him. So I go in 6 because I don't think he wants to go 2, and he also doesn't have good captures in 9. If he uses 7774 in 9 to capture my card in 6, he gives up all threat in 2, and I think he's losing. So he goes for 6742 in 9, but this gives my 7774 combos everywhere. And I really wanted to play 4687 in 1 here. That was my plan, and I thought that should be crushing. But then I realized he is 4687 in 2, and I couldn't find the win there. My intended move was 7774 and 7, and Cactuar 7747 and 7, where Ultima combos hard on the last turn, but he can block 8 and take 7, and he is, he can block, I guess he has to block 8. He can block 8 and just survives, and I was so annoyed. And I ended up seeing, but I can maybe start with 7747 in 4, and then my 7774 is guaranteed to combo anything he plays in 7 or 8. But he does have a tie with 5257 and 8, because if I combo immediately, he has to combo back in 2, so I have to delay it, and I don't quite win. But my mistake was I needed to combine the ideas. If I start with 4687 in 1, as he pointed out after the game, he can play 4687 in 2, but then I play Cactuar in 4, and now my 7774 does dominate his hand in 7 and 8, and that way of doing it, I do end up winning. But I didn't spot the idea in the same line. I spotted 7747 in 4, I spotted 4687 in 1, but I couldn't combine them in the right order, and I didn't find the win. And he saw it, and I think he's a better calculator than I am right now. But I couldn't quite get it to work, and I really should have here. And that felt bad. That felt like I missed my opportunity. Very luckily for me, Game 6, it does come through. I start in 3, and he meets it in 1, which was really annoying, because I wanted to play Gigas in 2, but his 7164 sneakily has a plus wall in 6, and the combos off that kept not working for me. So I went in 3, he went in 1. I ended up going in 7, again, setting up the 7747, 7774s in general, just to be really good. And he blocked 2, which is safe to my hand and looks like a good move. But if I'm precise here, I am winning, and I did find 7774 in 4, making it 5-5, and his 6368 has no good captures. Anything he does sets me up. If the 6368 goes in 8, then I have a plus in 5, and that is winning. And if the 6368 goes in 8, sorry, I have a plus in 5, and if the 6368 goes in 5, I can play 7774 in 6, and my 4687 actually is pluses or sames against his whole hand there in 8 and 9. Really weird card to have be a sweeper in 8 and 9, but it does get set up beautifully there, and pulls out the win. He ended up playing in 9 instead of one of those squares and giving me the 9-1 win, which is a fun way to go out. But I was really pleased with my hand building after he played such a fantastic hand in Game 3. And I don't know how my hand would have lined up against that hand, because I think that hand was great. But I think I made a really important adjustment, and for the first 3 games, I was behind. I was ahead in Game 2, but in general, over the first 3 games, I was just outplayed. And in Games 4 through 6, I was ahead every game and winning in 2 of them. And I think it was really hand-based. It was making a hand call. Oh, so this video's run about 20 minutes longer than I wanted it to, but I would really love it if you decide. If you send me your vote, please private message me your vote for your favorite match of Triad Wars 14. You can vote for one favorite, you can vote for a few favorites, you can put them in order, you can say these two were my favorite, these three were my favorite, you can say this one first, this one second, this one third. I'll figure out how to order stuff. I don't think we're going to get that many votes, but I'd really appreciate anyone who did want to vote for any of these matches. I think all 5 are excellent matches, and whichever inspired you most, I'd just love to have a kind of brilliancy prize for the tournament. And yeah, so please do vote for what your favorite match of Triad Wars 14 was. It was a tournament that had some really wonderful matches, and actually there are a bunch of cool ones I didn't get to here, but I did think these 5 stood out. I think these were the clear top 5, not the only good 5 matches, but the clear best 5 matches, all excellent. And yeah, let me know what you think the best match of Triad Wars 14 was. And I may go back and do something like this for Nephilim. I suspect there will be fewer contenders there. I think there were fewer spectacular matches. But Triad Wars 14 had a whole lot of good ones, and yeah, tell me which one you think is best.